universe now.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This is going to be my new Marvel Avengers video for Marvel Phase 4 and some of the new movies that are coming up. A lot of news sites are reporting that Marvel has very special plans for Ant-Man 3. So this will be a breakdown of the new Avengers team and what's going on with Ant-Man 3. I do Marvel videos every week. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get everything. We're also doing a Disney Plus giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave your favorite Ant-Man moment on the video. So we'll just go down the list here, starting with the Ant-Man 3 stuff and how this sets up New Avengers, because it ties together a lot of theories about what's going on with Marvel, the Disney Plus series, and the big movie stuff during Marvel Phase 4. It's starting to make a little more sense now. Starting with number 5, the new writer that Marvel just hired for Ant-Man 3. Why did they hire someone from Rick and Morty to do Ant-Man 3? What does that mean? If you've been following all the new Marvel stuff since they dropped the Marvel Phase 4 trailer, there are actually a bunch of other Rick and Morty writers that are working on Marvel movies and Marvel TV shows right now. So Marvel has a long history of borrowing Rick and Morty writers to do their big projects. The showrunner of She-Hulk is Jessica Gao. She was the writer of Pickle Rick, Rick and Morty Season 3, Episode 3. She won an Emmy Award for that. Marvel hired another Rick and Morty writer to do the Loki series, which is in the middle of filming when the virus started delaying everything. They're still about halfway done with Loki right now. Then Dan Harmon himself was actually hired to rework some of the multiverse parts of the first Doctor Strange movie. I think that had a little bit to do with the Dormammu plot. So there's a lot of Rick and Morty synergy with the MCU right now. The reason that Marvel gave a long time ago for going after Rick and Morty people was that Rick and Morty as a show does a really good job of explaining very complex ideas and science in very simple ways. And because Marvel Phase 4 is all about the multiverse, according to Kevin Feige, that starts to get very complex for people who don't follow every single Marvel movie and aren't really up on the science of how the multiverse works. So as crazy as things got during Ant-Man and the Wasp with the quantum realm and quantum energy and the way the ghost phased through different dimensions, it sounds like Ant-Man 3 will be even crazier. Number 4, we found out that Paul Rudd had actually submitted a script for Ant-Man 3 that was the introduction of MODOK through AIM. He was meant to be the big villain. Remember AIM from Iron Man 3 Advanced Idea Mechanics? That's the comic book organization that in the movies Aldrich Killian was behind, and he was the fake version of the Mandarin behind this fake version of the Mandarin, Trevor, that they're now going to pick up with during Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. The news sites are reporting that Marvel decided not to go with Paul Rudd's script, one, because he wrote it before Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame on his own, and Paul Rudd wasn't given a full script for either Infinity War or Endgame. So his version of the script didn't take into account anything that happened during those two Avengers movies, like any of the really big stuff, like Iron Man dying, the Infinity Gauntlet snaps, and now teenage version of Cassie Lang, played by Emma Furman. He didn't know about that going into Avengers Endgame, so it wasn't in his version of Ant-Man 3. Even though they hired this new Rick and Morty writer to do a new version of the script, I don't know if they're keeping MODOK in Ant-Man 3, if he's going to be a character, or if they're going to pick some other villain. But you can see the logic in doing a character as ridiculous as MODOK in the Ant-Man movies because they're typically more comedic movies. They're actually doing an adult animation MODOK TV show for Hulu. Patton Oswalt is going to be the voice of MODOK, which seems very appropriate. The actor John Hodgman has also been a friend of director Peyton Reed and has been campaigning to play MODOK in the Marvel movies since 2015, no joke, so maybe that was part of the inspiration for including MODOK in the original version of Ant-Man 3. But number 3, most of the news reports say that they've actually swapped out MODOK in this big AIM arc during that movie in favor of, get it, a Young Avengers storyline. No one knows if that means they're doing full-blown Young Avengers team-up or if it's going to be cameos because we don't even have a full Young Avengers comic book squad yet. We have teenage Cassie Lang, Stature, who in a couple years will be full-blown adult Cassie Lang, especially if Ant-Man 3 isn't released until 2022 or 2023. They were always kind of implying, I think, that eventually she would become the Stature character, even if they didn't always have really big Young Avengers plans inside the Ant-Man movies. There were some deleted scenes from Ant-Man and the Wasp that depicted all the extra things that Scott Lang did with young Cassie when he was still under house arrest, and one of them included shrinking Cassie down with the old Ant-Man suit from the first movie and riding the ants around for fun. So it seems like they were always teasing Cassie Lang's stature, but they weren't always sure what they were going to do with the 5-year time jump in adult Cassie Lang. That seems like something that the Russos did themselves. Number 2, so naturally we can assume Emma Furman is going to come back and play the older version of Cassie, and they'll build her a suit at some point during the movie. And if they really are doing Young Avengers, as the news reports are saying, and some crossover cameos from the other Young Avengers comic book characters, they're probably going to be the ones that debuted during the Marvel Phase 4 projects that we've learned about so far. Even though a lot of filming on those are delayed right now and they haven't cast all those characters, we know about Kate Bishop Hawkeye from the Hawkeye series, we know about She-Hulk, we know about Miss Marvel Kamala Khan, and possible Scarlet Witch's children Wiccan and Speed, featured in the Wandavision trailer. The only other really young characters in the MCU right now that are on par with the ages of the Young Avengers characters they're setting up in the Disney Plus series are obviously Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and then you have Shuri. She's the exact same age as Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Remember though, the reason for hiring this Rick and Morty person to oversee this crazy multiverse story arc is because we're doing a bigger multiverse narrative arc across Marvel Phase 4. Think of it as the multiverse saga. Like you do the Infinity Saga based on the Infinity Stones, the Infinity Gauntlet. Now we're getting into the multiverse, multiple dimensions, mutants, and a lot more crazy magic. The news reports that are talking about Young Avengers don't say who the villain of this version of the movie would be if they're not going to do MODOK, or if they'll try someone like King the Conqueror because he's a big Young Avengers villain, and reportedly he's going to be teased somehow during the Loki Disney Plus series because it's going to be a time travel based series. And we don't know if the whole movie is going to be dedicated to establishing the Young Avengers, or if it's just going to be a brief cameo at the end of the movie. Michael Douglas has been leaking all kinds of details about what's going on with the movie, when they're going to start filming, and some details about the story. He did say after Ant-Man and the Wasp that they would continue to explore the quantum realm and quantum energy, so whatever they're doing with Young Avengers and with the other villains, it's going to involve that. My assumption in the MODOK version of the script is what they would have done is they would have turned MODOK into that mysterious benefactor and AIM that Sonny Birch was working for with billions of dollars to blow, that wanted to get their hands on Hank Pym's lab and all that quantum energy. Since it sounds like MODOK is not in the movie anymore, those Easter eggs are still in play. You're still free to theorycraft about what that means. There were even some deleted scenes during Ant-Man and the Wasp with them down in the quantum realm and Janet Van Dyne trying to explain the quantum city and all the living organisms down there that they'll pick up on during Ant-Man 3.
There's so much we didn't know about this place, Henry. Worlds upon worlds, entire civilizations, far more than we ever theorized. It's okay. Passing through, we stake no claim. Go in peace. There.
I thought I was gone. But that energy from your hands, how did you do that?
I'm not the same woman I was 30 years ago, Henry. This place, it changes you. I mean, adaptation is part of it, but some of it is evolution.
Remember that Janet Van Dyne was also altered by the quantum energy. Now she has mutant-like abilities. They'll probably play a part in the story in a larger goal of establishing mutants in the MCU through a bunch of different ways. In the past, typically we talked about mutants as people who had the X gene from the X-Men comics, but Kevin Feige said that he thinks of it as a broader term, so that also includes characters like the Fantastic Four, who technically aren't mutants, they're called mutates. So it's a really subtle distinction, but I think that the MCU movies will just have a really simple way of explaining mutants. In number 1, that infamous video of Lewis recapping the MCU, the entire 10-year history. You may have seen a janky version of this at some point from the past, but back at Comic-Con 2017 when Marvel screened the first footage of Avengers Infinity War in Hall H, they also screened a special clip from Ant-Man and the Wasp of Scott Lang and Lewis recapping the entire 10-year history of the MCU to Janet Van Dyne. Marvel never posted the epic Lewis recap video online, but Kevin Feige and director Peyton Reed said that they would at some point. Early theory, they're saving that for Ant-Man 3 as a way to recap everything and catch everyone up since Endgame because so much stuff has happened recently. If you do happen to have an HD version of that, feel free to message me because I have not been able to find one. Marvel keeps taking them down every time someone posts it. But everyone post all your Young Avengers theories in the comments. If they show up during Ant-Man 3, do you think it's going to be a small cameo, or do you think the whole movie is going to be about setting up the Young Avengers team? My assumption is if they debut during that movie, then they would do that as a Disney Plus series, but I guess it's always possible they could do a full-blown Young Avengers MCU movie. It just depends on how big they want to go with it. You want to get people excited about an Ant-Man movie, you put the Young Avengers and you put Kang the Conqueror in that movie. Congratulations, Steven B0503, you're the giveaway winner from my last big Marvel video. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your details. Everyone, click here to learn about all the major Marvel Phase 4 movie changes they just announced, and click here for my new Avengers Wolverine Weapon X video. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe. I'll see you guys tonight.